Guy called Amani who says that I used to do 40 plus orders a day with one platform. Now I can make 250 Rand per day or 1,500 Rand per week if I push very hard. If he's lucky, his tips for the week are 250 Rand a total. So, okay, there are some challenges. Here's another one. Steve operates in Gauteng. He delivers to some of the biggest retailers. And for example, he says for early morning breakfast deliveries, we can earn up to 14 to 15 Rand per delivery. With lunch boost of 20 Rand per delivery, says Steve. Sometimes we earn per kilometer, which could be 20 Rand to 45 Rand per delivery. On average, he earns about 1,800 to 2,200 per week. Many of the apps allow for tips to be inputted. Input by customers when they make their order. This helps a lot. But even so, tips range
set by these e-hailing companies don't necessarily all go towards the drivers. And remember, the drivers are actually taking up the cost of the service. Yes, the platforms and the servers and the infrastructure has been provided, and the marketing by companies like Uber. But the actual running, the most expensive part, the running day-to-day costs of these services are in the hands of drivers and their vehicles. They're the ones on the road. They're the ones collecting the
So let's talk about the renting out of motorcycle business. This business, we're going to break it down now of how much you're going to need. So there are two ways you can do this. It's either the expensive way or the much more affordable way. Basically, the difference between these two ways is how much you're going to buy your motorcycle with. It's either you buy it brand new or second hand.
Hey guys, what's going on, man? Welcome to it. It's another episode of the Free Ride Podcast. I'm out here in the middle of a beautiful nature reserve, about to walk around, check out the scenery and so on. But one of the things that I really wanted to talk about today is an issue that has been really affecting South Africans, and it's the issue of unemployment. And I mean, we know that unemployment among young people, it's been said to be around anything between 50 and 60% of young people who are unemployed in South Africa today. And this is young people between the ages of between 18 and about 32 who are unemployed, who are unemployable, some of them. And of course, you can look out Stats SA to check out how bad the situation is. So one of the things I really wanted to look at, especially today, was economic opportunities in South Africa that we miss. Jobs and opportunities to run small businesses that we miss, that we don't take seriously, that we have given away to foreign nationals. And I mean, I've had this discussion before. The first thing that I really think that was not looking good for us as South Africans is how we have given away certain industries away to foreign nationals. Currently, the number one industry that we've given away to foreign nationals is the Yadi Spaza shop. The Spaza shop industry is worth over 10 billion a year. And of course, foreign nationals such as Pakistanis, some guys from India, some guys from Somalia, they have really taken the space of this Spaza shop. You've seen the country has been talking about it. There's been raids on these shops, and I mean, they're selling expired goods. I mean, I've had this discussion on this platform before, so I'm not going to repeat everything I said. But that's the one industry. The number two industry that we've given away, it's the hair industry. The beauty and hair industry has been really taken by our neighbors from Zimbabwe, Mozambique. If you look on the streets, the women and some guys, even Nigerians. I mean, I've seen a Nigerian guy or guys doing beauty. They do nails, they do facials, they do all sorts of things on women, South African women in particular. So That's the number 2 industry. The number 3rd industry that I think we've given away, it's the cell phone industry. Now, if you look at the cell phone industry, and I'm not talking where the big players are playing, such as MTN, Vodacom, and maybe Cell C and Virgin, but I'm talking about players who are actually have taken the space of the informal sector that involves the cell phone industry. Now, the cell phone industry is regulated at the top. It's regulated. You can't just bring out a cell phone in South Africa. I mean, I know there's been Mobicel that has been assembled here in South Africa. There was another cell phone industry or cell phone company that was tried. I can't remember the name right now. But the cell phone industry has been taken at the lower end of the scale, where you're talking repairs, where you're talking accessories. That has been taken by foreign nationals. Foreign nationals, such as guys from Pakistan and India, they have really taken that space. The 4th industry that I wanted to talk about, I mean, there are many others. Let's say the restaurant industry, when it comes to waiters, barmans, and the people from Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and maybe West Africa in certain areas, they've really taken on the space. If you look at the waiters and the barmans, it's not South Africans that are serving us at these high-end restaurants. If you go, I'm not going to mention the restaurant names, but there's plenty of them. Maybe your lower-end restaurants, your takeaways, your fast food takeaways, maybe that's where South Africans may be. But your private high-end restaurants where there's waiters and bars and so on, you'll find that the majority of people working there, it's literally foreign nationals who are doing it. Lastly, I think I want to talk about this particular industry, the delivery industry. I haven't even talked the e-hailing industry. I mean, there's your Ubers and Bolts, and that's just passenger delivery. Okay, South Africans, they are playing, but you can also see that there's players that are really jumping into the game, which are foreign nationals. And then the e-hailing food delivery, such as Checkers 6060, as well as other delivery services that involves your spas, that involves other like fast food delivery. Those are dominated by foreign nationals. And my big question is, why is it that South Africans are not jumping onto this, particularly young people? Is it because young people don't want to ride motorbikes? Is it because motorbikes, they see you riding a motorbike, they laugh at you? If you remember Velaphi Mjongeni, and I'm sure I'll find a video, a clip of Velaphi. If you remember Velaphi very well, he used to be a big joke among South Africans back in the 80s, early 90s, with his motorbike that has a carrier at the back, and people used to laugh at Velaphi. And if you rode a motorbike that is not a super bike, and it was a simple 150, people would laugh at you and call you Velaphi Mjongeni. So, and I think South Africans just generally do not take the e-hailing services very seriously, and unfortunately that's where a lot of South Africans are spending a lot of money on food delivery and food and takeaways and so on, and they order online, and therefore their deliveries are being done by people who are not South Africans. I don't have a problem with foreign nationals whatsoever. The problem I have is that when we don't regulate certain industries, we don't have barriers of entry for foreign nationals like there are barriers of entry for South Africans, then it's really not a good thing for us as a country. So here's an article I wanted to share with you before I go on my 3 or 4 hour hiking trail. Checkers has recently been criticized for his alleged bias in hiring foreign nationals rather than locals for its 6060 delivery service. The claim has led to a related concern about driving qualifications of the individuals working for 6060, many of whom may not have actually be eligible to ride a motorbike in South Africa. Now, think about it. We have tons of illegal immigrants. They are not legal to be here, but they are working on bikes. If you look at the guys that are on this 60-60, it's mainly guys from West Africa, Angola, Kenya, Nigeria. It's mainly guys from those sort of West African side. The foreign nationals have really taken on the space. So Checkers 60-60 was launched in 2019, right? And has quickly become the most popular grocery delivery app in South Africa with more than 5 million downloads. However, the reputed South African Twitter account holder by the name of Gulam recently accused 60-60 of being skewed hiring practices that favor foreigners over locals. Gulam has gained a reputation for the accuracy of sensitive information it publishes related to South African politics and business practices, according to My Broadband. So this guy has been revealing a whole lot of things, and I mean, he's been accused of being a CIA spy agent. He's been called all sorts of names. So the account has alleged that 9,900 of the 9,998 jobs created by Checkers 60-60 are filled by foreigners, which works out to be 99.1% of the total workforce. It must be clarified that Shoprite Checkers' parent companies outsources all of its platform's logistics to its partner Pingo. Pingo, which is a joint venture between Shoprite and RTT Logistics. Under South African labor law, the Department of Home Affairs has authorized to issue a special permit on foreign employment for certain companies which require critical skills that might not be easy to come by among locals. It would be therefore highly unusual for the vast majority of local companies' workforce to be made up of foreign nationals, especially since delivery drivers do not require a rare skill set. All you need to do is to know how to ride a motorbike. Now, listen to this. Top Auto reached out to Shoprite Pingo and RTT to follow on comments on Checkers 60-60 employment policies. So none of the stakeholders responded by the time of this particular publication. So Gulam also claimed that a high number of 60-60 foreign nationals were in the country illegally, which is not an accusation without precedent. In May 2023, the Department of Labor apprehended 80 illegal foreigners working for the delivery app at a store in the Western Cape, as reported by News 24. An issue related to the alleged high number of foreigners on 60-60 is that many drivers may not actually be qualified to operate on South African roads. According to Hein Jonker, the founder of the Motorcycle Safety Institute of South Africa, many of these riders may be using a license that does not guarantee they know how to use a motorcycle. So listen to this. In many parts of Africa, a driver's license for a car will cover all classes of vehicles below it, including a scooter or a motorcycle. This means that individuals with a car license may not have passed a motorcycle exam or received any relevant training, but is still technically allowed to drive one. They come to this country with a license that includes a motorcycle license, and off they go. So, I want you to check this out, and when we come back, I'm going to wrap up this conversation. But the question is, what are you South Africans, what are we South Africans doing about this? What are we doing to ensure that we are actually encouraging our young people to look into opportunities and where the market is open, especially around these particular markets I've mentioned above, right? What are we doing about it? So I want you to check this out. And then when I come back, I'm going to wrap this up.
It looks like the government will now be able to decide the prices of e-hailing services like Uber and Bolt. Previously, it was kind of left up to the service provider to set their prices, but it looks like there's going to be some pressure from government to decide what those prices are. Now, this article is from the 24th of June, so it's not old, but we've had the new cabinet mentioned, so I don't know if the transport minister is Sindiswe Chikunga anymore. I'm not sure. But anyway, the amendment bill that was passed, the National Transport Act, means that the transport minister, whoever that is right now, will be able to set these ride-sharing prices. Before you freak out and go like, oh, free market capitalism, like, is whatever, I think it's good that the government have some control over what these companies are doing. Remember, these are companies from outside our country, just setting up businesses here. They also are going to be addressing not only just pricing, but also safety and communication between operators and platforms. So they'll have more information about how people are communicating using these platforms, if something goes wrong, and they'll be able to manage the safety of that. And then obviously be able to go like, hey, listen, you're overcharging. Because that's the other thing, is that they can drop those prices for us. And one of the reasons why I say that's important, right? And it might drop the prices, is that ride-hailing platforms were previously against the amendment, allowing the ministers to set prices and try to have it scrapped, because obviously they don't want us to tell them what to charge. They want to charge us whatever. What's very important to note about this, and I hope that government have some control over this, is that the prices that are set by these e-hailing companies don't necessarily all go towards the drivers. And remember, the drivers are actually taking up the cost of the service. Yes, the platforms and the servers and the infrastructure has been provided, and the marketing, by companies like Uber. But the actual running, the most expensive part, the running day-to-day costs of these services, are in the hands of drivers and their vehicles. They're the ones on the road. They're the ones collecting the paychecks. They're the ones that have to generate as much money as they can to alleviate or to cover those initial costs. So hopefully the government has some say as to what percentage is going towards drivers and what percentage is going towards the company. That looks like that might be happening. I hope it does. So that's something to think about. Could be a really big deal for the industry, or maybe it's a bad thing. What do you think?
Okay, good people, another day of me blessing you with my presence. Let's talk about the juicy stuff that people have been waiting for. Hopefully people have been waiting for it. Anyways, don't mind me if I look that side. I'm looking at my notes, so I make sure I give you the right details and facts, not like things that I feel like saying. So let's talk about the renting out of motorcycle business. This business, we're gonna break it down now of how much you're gonna need. So there are two ways you can do this. It's either the expensive way or the much more affordable way. Basically, the difference between these two ways is how much you're gonna buy your motorcycle with. It's either you buy it brand new or second hand, and it has its pros and cons for both sides. But right now we're just going to look at the prices. Brand new, you can get a motorcycle for about 17,000. A big boy motorcycle, those ones are much more reliable. And second hand, you can get it for about 12,000, depending on who you buy it from, stuff like that. And then I would advise that you do not buy the motorcycle with its back case. It's just expensive like that for no reason. You can get that for yourself. Get a container case from either Builders, Games, Mambo Jumbo. You can get one for about 250 rands, and then you get someone to install it for you for about less than 200 rands. And then now you have a back case for less than 500 rands. If you had to buy a brand new one with a back case, I think that's an extra 1,000 or 2,000. And then on top of that, you're gonna need a tracker. A tracker can cost you about 100 rands. Yeah, it's about 100 rand per month. Then now you've bought the bike, you have a back case, you have a tracker. Now you can rent it out to someone. Expenses you can look out for while you're renting it out to someone is servicing expenses. So that also depends as well with who you are going to service your bike with. I was servicing my bikes with this other mechanic. He was a pretty good guy, gave me very reasonable prices, took very well care of my bike. So I don't want to give you those prices because they might mislead you to how the business is gonna run. I've checked out some places where you can service your bike if you're in Cape Town. If you're not, just check out places around you. It should cost right about the same amounts that I'm gonna be saying. So there's a place called Moto PC. There they understand the Uber business, Uber Eats business for the bikes. So normally to service your bike, you have to service it after 3 months, which is about 3k kilometers. That would normally cost you about 650 to 700 rand depending on the place, but for them they give the drivers a discount. They service it for 300 rand, and you have to do an oil change for every 2 weeks, and an oil change is just 100 rand. And then Another place is Spring Motorcycles. It will charge you 650 for the standard service, and they will check your motorbike every 2 weeks as well. But for them, they don't do an oil change every 2 weeks. They check it for you and see how it's going, and if it needs an oil change, they will change it, and if it doesn't, they'll let it go. So those are all the expenses that you should look out for. Now for the cheaper one, like I said, the only difference is the amount of money you're gonna spend on the bike. For the cheaper one, you can spend just about 12,000 on the bike, depending on who you buy it from. You can check Facebook Market, Gumtree. There are a lot of people selling this bike. You get your money back within 6 to 7 months. So it also has its pros and cons buying a cheaper one. So don't just look at you get your money back faster. It's up to you how much test you have of risk. For me, I bought the cheaper one. I went for the cheaper option. I went to Gumtree, looked for bikes. I got 2 bikes for, I think it was 14,000. So the guy was just tired of running the business. So me, I went there with a big head, like, I'm gonna do this. Nothing can hit me. Then I went there, got the 2 bikes, and the guy was very generous. He even gave me 2 helmets because he was just done with the business. So I got those, I got trackers, I got drivers, and then I got contracts for them. Then it was a go. I also talk about the biggest factor that makes this business not work and how you can try avoiding it. I also talk about how you as a student can get your hands in this amount of money, because you can quite fast.
Zikhona iy'thuthuthi ezintsha, first come first serve. Zikhona iy'thuthuthi ezintsha, ney'hlale niyazi nani bantu bakwethu. 2 days emningana, but we do have new bikes out too. New bikes are available. Sifoneleni ke ngizoba first come first serve. Ziwu-2 kuphela ezintsha, so first come first serve.
So I came across this particular article, right? So I'm just on a quest to find out, Jorge, with such high unemployment, why is it that South Africans, particularly our youth, not interested in food delivery or delivery of some sorts? Why are they not interested in riding motorbikes? Why? A few years back, before COVID, 2024, before COVID, South Africa was a bit slow to the party when it came to online shopping. However, if lockdown taught us anything, it is how convenient it is to receive our groceries, our clothes, goodies, and takeaways directly to our homes with a simple clicks. Our country has risen to the occasion with amazing apps that include and online services provided by the likes of Uber Eats, OneCart, Order In, Take A Lot, Pick and Pay, Bottles, Woolies Dash, and Checkers 6060, to name but a few. All right, so now here's what we wanted to find out, is what it is that people make. All right, so what is it that people make? All right, so on average, week on one of the most popular takeaway services, they can make about 2,200. That's if you work from 7 a.m. until late with no breaks. They can make about 2,500 Rand per week. That's just doing COVID delivery. So here's what has been said here. The whole industry has changed since COVID. He says, this is the guy called Amani, who says that I used to do 40 plus orders a day with one platform. Now I can make 250 Rand per day or 1,500 Rand per week if I push very hard. If he's lucky, his tips for the week are 250 Rand a total. So, okay, there are some challenges. Here's another one. Steve operates in Gauteng. He delivers to some of the biggest retailers. And for example, he says for early morning breakfast deliveries, we can earn up to 14 to 15 Rand per delivery. With lunch boost of 20 Rand per delivery, says Steve. Sometimes we earn per kilometer, which could be 20 Rand to 45 Rand per delivery. On average, he earns about 1,800 to 2,200 per week. Many of the apps allow for tips to be inputted. Many of the apps allow for tips to be input by customers when they make their order, this helps a lot. But even so, tips range from 15 to 45 Rand per delivery. Okay, let's check out another one. Here's another one. Kosunati says he makes about 1,500 to 1,800 Rand per week. But of course, there's always challenges. For instance, maybe if you don't have a bike that is that is new, you might have problems with that. But other than that, this is the amount of money you can make on average per week, per month. Let's check out another article. So on average, salary range for the majority of workers in the motorcycle drivers are between 4,094 to 13,291 Rand per month. And this is by 2024. A motorcycle driver typically earns between 4,000 and 7,000 net per month at the start of the job. After 5 years of service, they could be making between 5 and 9,000 per month, working a week of 45 hours. So, I mean, this is money that you probably will not earn working at a ShopRite, packing, maybe working at like various places will not pay you this amount of money. So you might need to literally jump into this particular opportunity so that you can make a little bit more. Some call center jobs don't even pay this amount of money. Some restaurant tipping jobs don't even pay this amount of money. So you could earn a little bit more. But South Africans, please, man, let's try and encourage our young ones, even if it meant what we could do is maybe rekopanyeng as a couple of people who are middle income earners, le magrotman ko kasi, le baya dikuta, le nka dintwana, le ba kenya raso, la ba trainer, and let them earn money, and your bikes can pay itself back. But there's definitely something we could do. I mean, this opportunity where people are buying online, it's definitely growing by the numbers each and every year. And people don't want to spend time shopping at the shops anymore. That's why so many malls are closing, so many malls are struggling, so many shops are struggling, and the online space is really, really booming. So this is it for this week. Bafowethu, I wanted to talk about that, and I thank you so much for listening, for watching, and I appreciate you for liking, and I appreciate you for subscribing to the channel. And of course, I'm gonna do my best to continue on posting as much as possible and just share my views about how I see things in South Africa today. And of course, I've got another story that I'm going to talk about in the next couple of days. And of course, I'll release it on this platform. Ke a leboga bafowethu, modimo ko, ciao.